Hello the internet, and welcome to another episode of The Spit Take. My name's Jack O'Brien, I'm the editor-in-chief of Cracked, and if you could hold a blacklight up to history, it would look like this, completely covered in white from the sheer amount of semen and sex juice. With that in mind, let's start our list of history's most important sexual perverts with the mildest entry possible. If you had to pick a historical figure to share a bed with for a night and trust not to get handsy, Gandhi'd have to be near the top of the list, right? Despite bringing back the loincloth as a pants option, Gandhi protected the crown of most pious man of the 20th century like it was the heavyweight championship of the world. In his 30s, he decided sex was getting in the way of his spiritual development and took a vow of celibacy, which probably came as a little bit of a shock to his wife. Okay, I'll just be over here then? Good luck. For the next 40 years, Gandhi rigidly enforced his no sex after marriage rule by asking his female followers to sleep with him, nakedly. Just to see how his penis would manage the pressure, I guess? Gandhi also asked his 18-year-old grandniece to share his bed after she spent 6 years caring for his dying wife. In case she had doubts about sleeping with Uncle D, a letter he wrote her reasoned, quote, "We both may be killed by the Muslims and must put our purity to the ultimate test so that we know that we're offering the purest of sacrifices. And we should now both start sleeping naked," end quote. Man, I can't believe she fell for the old, let's sleep naked together because the Muslims might kill us gambit. There's a reason Winston Churchill looks like a grumpy toddler dressed as an oil baron for an old-timey calendar in this picture. He never really took to wearing clothes and would call people into his office while totally naked just all the time. A few weeks after Pearl Harbor, while the fate of the free world hung in the balance, Winston Churchill hung dork in front of the US president. He was getting out of a bath he'd been taking while meeting with FDR, as you do, when he accidentally dropped the towel his valet had draped around him. And instead of picking it up, he turned to the president and said, "As you can see, Mr. President, I have nothing to conceal from you." Which would be almost impressively witty if he hadn't clearly been planning to show Roosevelt his naked body since he started that meeting. Still, Churchill comes off as adorable, like a little kid making a run for it after bath time. Lyndon Johnson had more in common with Anthony Weiner, his personal feelings of pride in his own penis leading him to use it conversationally as an icebreaker. Because having a last name that's a euphemism for penis is apparently way more psychologically damaging than any of us imagined. Even before he was president, Johnson was known for violating people's physical space to gauge how they felt about him. And while it's impossible to tell whether he had his dick out in any of those pictures, he did seem to use his penis to keep people off balance and intimidate them and presumably shake on a deal when his hands were full. One time he reportedly pulled it out in a crowded room and just peed on a nearby aide without breaking eye contact with the person he was talking to. The aide just stood there like a tree and took it, while everyone else assumed they were having a stroke. It turns out Albert Einstein had 3 theories of relativity: general relativity, special relativity, and the one that says he gets to have sex with all his relatives. Einstein married a fellow physics student who wasn't blood related, had a few kids, and never did another normal thing with his dick again. When he became famous, he decided he was done with this basic human decency bullshit. He gave his wife a set of rules, which included keep my clothes clean and provide 3 meals a day, don't talk to me, don't be around me, leave the room if I ask you to, and no more sex. Pretty sure by that point, Mrs. Einstein wasn't putting up an argument on that last one. His second marriage was to his double cousin, Elsa Einstein. No, not second cousin, double, as in a cousin on his mom's side and on his dad's side. Though he almost broke off their engagement to marry her 18-year-old daughter instead. Over the next 20 years, he kept his penis busy with over 11 affairs, 6 of which he described in letters to the stepdaughter he almost married. That poster of Einstein with his tongue out currently hanging in every science classroom is a little creepy now, isn't it? We've all heard about legends whose first great love was doing something less impressive. Never would have gotten Einstein's theory of relativity if his entire family tree would have let him f it. But perhaps the most disquieting first love belonged to Dr. Seuss. After a career drawing propaganda for the US Army that helped make winning World War II something we could all look back on in deep shame, Seuss set his sights on his true passion: bizarre, childish doodles of naked women that suggested he'd never seen one of those. We may never have gotten green eggs and ham or that book about vacation destinations that never come true everyone gets at graduation if Dr. Seuss hadn't failed to break into the first thing he tried: an illustrated book for adults in which, in his words, I attempted to draw the sexiest babes I could. Swear that's a direct quote. Unfortunately, he'd never seen a naked person before, and some of the assumptions that he makes about the naked female form turned out to be out of touch with reality in some pretty upsetting ways the world wasn't ready for. The first fictional creatures to come out of Dr. Seuss's mind tried to make up for their off-putting lack of nipples with an overabundance of party hats and farm animals. Alas, it only ever sold 2,500 copies. Dr. Seuss was forced to admit defeat in the realm of human nudes and create creatures like the Loraxes and Things and Oncelers that nobody would notice didn't have nipples, and thankfully never revisited what has to be the saddest picture ever committed to paper by an artist who clearly planned on masturbating to it. Hey, it's me, Jack. I put on a sweater to cover up the fact that I'm a really sweaty dude talking about perverts. Anyways, if you know of other great historical figures who are total perverts, please let us know down in the comments section, and we might use them in the sequel. Coming soon.